Very strong words being used both by the government and by the opposition on the Waqf, and there is an intense showdown, and that's very clear. The Congress going to the extent of calling the report Farzi or fake, and the government accusing the opposition of minority appeasement politics or Muslim appeasement politics, Tushtikaran ki rajniti. That is what the government is accusing the opposition of. But let's try and make sense of this report and the entire controversy around it. Joining me on this special broadcast is Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP. Pradeep Bhati is the spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. And for a perspective on the Waqf report and whether reforms are required, Zeenat Shaukat Ali joins me on this broadcast. She is the founder director general of the World Institute of Islamic Studies. So let's get straight to our guests. Tuhin Sinha respond to the opposition saying, 1. This report is fake, farzi hai. 2. Dissent notes have been removed from this report. So the voice of the opposition is being silenced by the government that's using its numbers.
Well, good evening, Gaurav. Good evening, everybody. You know, there are 39 meetings of JPC which have taken place in the last 6 months starting August, which means more than 6 meetings a month. All the dissenting notes and all the clauses that have been included after discussions are duly incorporated. The dissent notes are in the annexure. Now, this opposition does not read reports. It just, flips through a few pages and then realizes that there is nothing about it. But what all do we mention? The fact that Kalyan Banerjee would break glass, glasses, shishe ka glass would break karte the meeting mein. What all do they want us to mention? Fact is, this Waqf amendment was required for a very long time. There are sweeping changes. For example, the decision to include non-Muslims in the Waqf board, number 1. And number 2, for anybody who donates land to Waqf board, for that person to be a practicing Muslim for 5 years. These are very important steps to arrest the misuse of Waqf board which has been happening.
So let's take this step by step. You've raised certain points. Let me bring in Pradeep Bhati of the Samajwadi Party before I bring in Zeenat Shaukat Ali. Pradeep Bhati, what is the objection? The government says dissent notes are a part of the report. You need to read it. It's there in the appendix. That's point 1. Point 2, the JPC report has only been tabled. Whatever issues the opposition may have, discuss it on the floor of the House.
Hi, good evening to all. Gaurav, we are exactly doing what government scripted for this budget session and did today in Lok Sabha for after 14 days. We are distracting and discussing the terrifying, arbitrary and discriminatory report presented in the parliament. The voice of 80 crore people, this is budget session and the health of the economic needs to be discussed. The voice of 80 crore poor people of this country is overpowered by the capitalist mindset of this BJP. And that is why this budget session, Honorable Akhilesh.
My question to you was very clearly on what is the opposition objecting about. I asked you a specific question. You want to join a debate on the budget, you should have raised the issue of the budget. It's the opposition that raised the issue of the Waqf report. So I'm talking to you about the Waqf report.
Gaurav, please be patient because the main destruction and which government wants to tries to do, let me highlight that also. So please have patience. Let me complete my first few lines and then I'll come to your question and the issues raised by the Tuhin also. The point I was raising that these are all destruction.
Don't get distracted. You stay on the report, stay on the budget.
Now JPC, the opposition party alleged that the dissent notes have been removed from that. Then why Mr. Nadda and Home Minister was raising this issue that it is the prerogative of chairman to do whatever he wants to include and whatever he wants to do. And at the same time, Home Minister is saying that whatever is missed, we will take all those issues. So if it is so comprehensive report, why they are so confused? And the point and most important point which I want to raise, this government is master of U-turns. I will not start with the Aadhaar, GST and black money. I'll read the Rajya Sabha, the same Waqf amendment bill 2013, and on 19th August 2013, I'll just quote what BJP, that time BJP leader Abbas Naqvi ji in the Rajya Sabha said. Let me quote him first. He was referring to the Muslim and non-Muslim that twin raised this point.
Okay.
I'm raising the same point. इसका मतलब ये है कि आप ये कह रहे हैं कि साहब इस देश में मुसलमानों की अशिक्षा इतनी है, कमजोर इतना बना दिया गया है उन्हें कि वो इस लायक नहीं है कि दूसरा प्रोविजन मींस नॉन मुस्लिम्स एंड द गवर्नमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, कि उनको दूसरा प्रोविजन ऐड करना पड़ रहा है। अब ये अमेंडमेंट का दुरुपयोग तो सरकार ही करेगी, जैसे अपनी मर्जी से ऑफिसर्स नियुक्त करेगी, इसी तरह से सरकार वहां पे आदमी बैठाएगी और इससे वक्फ की जो हालत है वो बद से बदतर हो जाएगी। पॉइंट नंबर 1। पॉइंट नंबर 2 ही रेज अबाउट, ये एक बड़ा सवाल है, और सवाल इसलिए है कि आज कह रहा हूं कि वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी का कोई रिकॉर्ड नहीं है।
ठीक,
ये कोई बात नहीं है कि कितनी प्रॉपर्टी वक्फ के पास है, ये आधा अधूरा है, और उसके लिए उन्होंने एक शेर पढ़ा, और जो आज भी बड़ा वाजिब है।
आपने मेरे पास शेर सुनने का भी समय इसलिए नहीं है क्योंकि मुझे मुद्दों पर रहना, और कई मुद्दे हैं एक 20 मिनट के इस डिबेट में, बट आई वांट टू ब्रिंग इन ओके रिस्पॉन्ड टू हिम सिन्हा द पॉइंट दैट इज बीइंग रेज्ड. In opposition, BJP says Waqf does not need reforms, and he's quoting Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. Why are you bringing in non-Muslims? And when in government, you're bringing in non-Muslims?
12 years is a very long time. You know, what Naqvi ji said in 2013 may not apply in entirety now, because also the aggrandizement tendencies of Waqf board has increased manifold after the 2013 amendment. So I think, you know, these what he said in 2013 does not exactly hold true now. Fact is that Waqf need drastic reforms, because the way they have been usurping properties. Today they have third largest number of properties in the country. We need strict reforms where the damage done by clause
you're leveling a grave charge. You're accusing the Waqf.
Damage done by clause 40 of the 1995 Waqf Amendment Act needs to be undone, because this is land jihad, this is land mafia, and it needs to be curtailed now before, you know, it kind of goes ahead and acquires.
Sir, that's a very grave charge that you level. You're accusing the Waqf of land jihad. But, you know, I'll come to that in just a moment. I want to bring in Zeenat Shaukat Ali into this conversation, and especially on the reforms that are now being introduced, whether women are being introduced on the board, or non-Muslims are being introduced on the board. Ma'am, is that wrong? Is that illegal? Where do you stand on this?
Thank you, Gaurav, for inviting me to the show. The first thing that I would like to say is that there are multiple misunderstandings from what I am hearing, you know, regarding who is part of it, who is not part of it, and what that entire act does, and how does it benefit or not benefit the Muslim community. So I think those are the misunderstandings that have to be cleared out, and there has to be transparency in doing so. And as you have rightly said, that, you know, when the Waqf Act, you know, the new act that is being, the JPC that has been formulated, has to be openly and transparently put in open house and discussed out there, so that the pros and cons may be considered. After all, one thing has to be made clear, that this is going to be for the betterment of Muslims, and this is going to be for the betterment of the country as well. So you see, there is this big misunderstanding that this is not going to be for the benefit of Muslims, and that the land of Muslims is going to be taken away from them, and they're going to be at the losing end. And that, and also, you know, the first thing I should have said, that we should not have politics over this. You know, politicizing an issue that is very, very important and largely concerning the citizens of this country confuses everything. You see, it puts everything off gear. So let's put politics aside.
Important point you raise, as I re-establish that link with you, and respond to this, Pradeep Bhati. Keep politics aside. It's a reform bill. This is just the JPC report. It has been tabled in Parliament. Read it, discuss it threadbare in the temple of democracy. The government says the opposition is indulging in Muslim appeasement, Tushtikaran ki Rajniti. And if a Muslim woman is saying this is good, it's bringing in reforms, why not debate it?
Gaurav, see, the BJP only motive is to promote communalism. There is, and just in this session also, they want to just run away from the core issues. We are ready to discuss, but when you are doing that, but very cleverly, what BJP spokesperson is saying that we last 12 years, a lot of thing has been changed. So as for the Aadhaar and GST and black money also. I mean, you for your convenience, you change everything every time, but you haven't allowed me to what Abbas Mukhtar Naqvi said.
Sir,
In
my
the last
question to
meeting I
you
had
is
to do.
why not debate
My
it in Parliament? Even if you want to read Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi's share, read it in Parliament, let your MP read it in Parliament.
that
My
will
only
clear
issue is
that will
why is
clear
the
the air.
opposition? Why is there merit in the government saying
Gaurav,
opposition
that
is
will-
indulging
that
in
will
Muslim
clear the-
appeasement? It does not want to discuss it in Parliament.
No, that will clear, Gaurav, that will clear the air what BJP spokesperson was trying to build. But you are not allowing me to do so. I'll do that in the parliament, then there is no point of debating here. We'll do
Fair
that
enough. You may
in parliament.
choose. I want to
What?
discuss on substantive issues, and you are unwilling to engage on substantive issues.
No,
But I want
this
to
is
bring
not
in. I
substantive
want to
what the
bring in
BJP was
the
saying,
BJP
12 years
spokesperson
back.
Tuhin
It's
Sinha
not
once again
substantive that
because I
BJP
want to
was taking
understand.
U-turn on whatever they are.
The bill today is the government is now brought in the Waqf bill. Next time they will snatch away land of temples and gurdwaras. That is what the Aam Aadmi Party is saying. Respond to it, Tuhin Sinha.
No, Aam Aadmi Party has no credibility. They're just fear mongering because they don't have anything better to do. Now, I can explain to you why the specific clauses have been introduced, the inclusion of non-Muslims, because it's a fact that the maximum land usurped by Waqf board has been of non-Muslims. Whether it is a 1,000-year-old temple in a village called Tiruchanderi in Tamil Nadu, whether it is a 500-year-old Gurudwara in a village in Haryana, all of these land have been claimed by Waqf board without any evidence. The same applies to to the land of Christians in Kerala, to the land of Jains in Bangalore. So it is very important to make Waqf board an inclusive board so that when
What
claims
amendment you
are
have made
made on the land belonging to other religion, there is adequate representation from people of the other religion to rightly challenge it.
Fair enough. You've made your point. Mr. Bhati, respond to this point and your contention.
Just one small point, Gaurav.
Go on, sir.
Yeah, the major criticism about because this fear mongering, what BJP spokesperson is trying to that the land is grabbed. The basic criticism was about the mismanagement, the corruption, and the encroachment part. And the reforms needs to be done on the digitization part, the audit, and the improve the transparency and legal mechanism needs to be formed. But where BJP has done that, every time they come up with and try to do that fear mongering among the people that all land has been grabbed by the Waqf board and whatever is left out will be in going future it will be grabbed. So this comes with the substance that these reforms are being done. You say every time that you have a Quran and computer on the other hand, but you
is there merit in the BJP spokesperson raising the issue of a 1,000-year-old temple which is older than the religion coming to India, older than that, and that is being claimed by Waqf? Is there merit in that point that Tuhin Sinha raises?
That there are courts available that decision. If today I claim that Taj Mahal is mine, it doesn't mean it will be mine.
Okay.
There is a court, there is a legal system in this country.
But is there legal system against Waqf? Or that's the point. Okay. Tuhin Sinha wants to quickly respond before I bring in Zinat Shaukat
the Waqf tribunal is equally shambolic. It is skewed towards the claims being made by the Waqf board. Let me give you a simile to explain the situation. Supposing there is robbery in your home, the onus is not. The onus is on you to prove that the certain number of gold ornaments existed in your home. It is not on the onus the onus is not on the robber to prove himself innocent. The onus is on the complainant to prove that he actually owned that.
I want to bring in Zinat Shaukat Ali on substantive issues of this debate. Is the reform required? Was a JPC required? Now that the JPC report has been tabled, should it be discussed on the floor of the House? Ma'am, is it a good idea to bring in women on the board? Is it a good idea, in your appreciation, to bring in non-Muslims into the Waqf board?
See, I'll tell you, yes, I think it has to be debated very transparently, with the pros and cons all put into Parliament, and everyone has to be given a chance to give an opinion on that matter, the parliamentarians, and there has to be a broad consensus on whatever you adopt. Has to be a broad consensus and not, a one-way traffic. That's one thing. The second thing is, as far as non-Muslims coming on the board, for example, there are two boards, that is the Aga Khani board and the Bora board, which are independent boards, and they have their own ruling. And you see, the question becomes that in a democracy, in a secular democracy, there are temple endowments, there are Parsi panchayat endowments, there are Jain endowments. Now, will you allow others than Jains and others than Parsis and others than of other Muslims to enter into those boards? So when you're considering taking non-Muslims onto this Waqf board, which is a kind of a Muslim endowment, one has to consider that this will apply, there will be a flat rule based on democracy and secularism, that all boards will have this. So you have to make that consideration very carefully. And secondly, you see this argument that has been coming up, that the temple land will be usurped, and other religious grounds land will be usurped. One has to make a clause, a very clear-cut clause, that such a thing will not take place. This is what I mean by transparency and argument. You don't have to sit and shout and scream across, for reasons. Put your reasons across. What you are saying has to be for the benefit. What actually you are doing is for the benefit of the people, and not to usurp their land. And there has to be in their heart, they have to be, they don't have to think about this twice. You know what I mean?
That's very interesting the way you put it. And the opposition and the government. Ma'am, that's a very, very pertinent point. Very pertinent point you raised there. And Tuhin Sinha, the point that there was a JPC was take everyone together, listen into dissent, bring in all the points, and then move forward on this. The opposition is saying that the government is trying to ride roughshod over, one, the dissent, putting it in the appendix and not in the main report is one of the points of contention. And two, AIMIM and Asaduddin Owaisi says, ab Musalmano ko unki ibadat karne se rok rahe hain.
It's common sense. Why should dissent notes be included in the main text? The main text obviously will carry those clauses which have managed to see the light of the day. So I think the opposition somewhere is logically challenged. The time has come to undo the damage done by the 1995 Waqf Amendment Act. See, those amendments of 1995 were not very straight amendments, and therefore the correction will not be very straight. The correction needs to be drastic. Let me not mince words over here. The correction needs to be drastic if the country is to be saved, and we have made sure that those corrections have been pushed through after following a due democratic process.
Okay, quickly, Mr. Bhati, the last 30 seconds I have on this part of the show, I want to understand from you. The points that the opposition has, debate them in Parliament, debate them in a transparent way. The nation will see who's right, who's wrong, and ultimately truth will emerge, sir.
That's right, that it has to be debated in a transparent way. But see the beginning. Mr. Nadda is not aware. Maybe Tuhin is aware what is there in the notes or not. Why then he is saying that it's the prerogative of chairman? First point number one. Second point about this is not the first time that there is a select committee or JPC report on the Waqf board. Why I stated Abbas Naqvi's name was he was the select committee chairman from the BJP side. That means his voice was the BJP's voice. It's not his individual voice. So that's understand. He was also talking on the same thing. Third point, if you come with the reforms, then take everybody into consensus that we are bringing these all the communities needs to be bring into consensus. You cannot bulldoze everything on your own and try to make your own laws as per your requirement.
Okay,
One
the
bill to say
opposition
something
calls the
and
report
another bill
Farzi.
to say
The government accuses the opposition of Muslim appeasement politics. Clearly, this isn't the last that we've heard of this part of the debate. Ma'am, okay, last 30 seconds before I take a break. Zeenat Shakatari, go on, ma'am.
I just thought, sir, that, Gaurav, that I'd like to bring this point that, what the gentleman just said about the word drastic. Drastic reforms. I think that is a very strong word that can be very misleading. So when you are looking at a reform, it has to be for the benefit of the people of the country, for the benefit of everyone around. You don't have to make it political. So this is what my submission is.
Fair enough.
We'll
now wait for the debate in Parliament. I've run out of time on this part of the show. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me.